Yo, what's good my fellow Magic Knights? It is your boy DEADMANVINCE back with yet another JJK Phantom Parade video. Today I'm going to be talking about what SR characters you need to be working on, and I'm going to kind of try to order this list in order of like, okay, maybe work on these guys to like yo, definitely if you don't have this character, even though they're an SR, your account might be a little chopped right now. But we're going to go ahead and just start off with Momo here. Momo is kind of like one of those maybe characters. Momo has an all attack buff or all damage buff. Any character that has an all damage buff, I kind of go ahead and say work on, just because the more you can buff your team, or better yet, you always want to buff Gojo, right? Gojo is something that everybody got. You always want to buff Gojo, but if you're always buffing Gojo, it's a bigger benefit to you if you're buffing everybody on the team, because you're not always going to be running a complete full buffer team. Sometimes you won't have a lineup of characters that permit that, so sometimes you're going to be running DPS characters and everything. So having as many characters that can give buffs to the entire team versus just one other person is incredible, or giving buffs to themselves, I mean. You can see right here on her skill 2, she increases all allies damage by 41.7% for 2 turns one time, and then grants herself evasion like guaranteed one time. If you get all the way to level 10, she's granting allies a 68.7% damage boost as opposed to that. So that's a 27% boost in the damage that she is providing. So that's a really good buff right there. This skill 1 doesn't really matter too much. It's just damage, but her damage is not going to be impressive at all. This right here is the other part where she's somewhat useful, because she has a stun that works against all enemies, but it's an 86% chance for it to happen. So I can't really give her the W on the stun, just because when there's a chance, more often than not the chance fails. I don't know. In gacha games, it feels like it's always that way. I talk too fast sometimes in my videos. I gotta slow it down and just be speeding through it. But the ultimate is going to be deals 292% range damage of Jujutsu to all enemies, stuns all enemies with a 40% chance, and grants evasion status to self for 1 turn for 1 time. If you boost it all the way up to level 10, she has nearly an 80% chance to stun all the enemies. So she's a maybe just because of the stun chances. Like if the stun chances were like even like 95% or something like that, because there are characters whose stun chance go over 100%, but if her stun chance was like 95% or something like that, like I'd probably be putting her in that like, yo, absolutely work on her category. But just because she doesn't get that full 100% stun, I say maybe, just because there are other units that can buff all allies on your team, and we'll go over those units a little bit deeper into this list that are SR. There are more units that can do that, and they have more pieces around their kit that work better, I feel. Her combo effect is going to be increases own and combo allies break damage by 10% for 2 turns. So that's okay. More often than not, like I do break the enemy shield sometimes, and the break can be useful sometimes, but more so my team functions in a way where it's doing a lot of damage through the shield from breaking anyway, so I don't really focus break that much. Maybe I could focus on break a little bit more just because I have the characters for it, who knows. But yeah, and then there's going to be a 100% range Jujutsu damage to all enemies, and then her auto skill. And also guys, some characters have auto skills, some don't, which I think is kind of weird, but if you think about it, the characters function that way actually in the series. As long as you can pull up the series and draw a connection from something in the game to the series, like, I'm not going to complain, I'm not going to berate you, I'm not going to be upset that you did something that at first seems nonsensical, because this makes sense. Some characters have auto skills because some characters are literally from crazy like bloodlines and stuff, and they have like natural techniques already ingrained within them, whereas some characters, you know, they aren't from like these special families or something like that, but they do have to train very hard to boost up their techniques and everything like that. So it makes sense for some characters to have auto skills and some not. Momo having an auto skill though is a bit ridiculous though. I mean, she can fly, that's kind of one thing. Target instruction. At the start of each wave, increases 1 random enemy's damage received by 6.7% for 2 turns. Yeah, if this was at least 10%, like, I don't know, man. It feels like the stuff on her that's like decent, that's okay, is just okay, and it could have been good, but they were scared to make it good because she's an SR character. But I believe in the contrary. I believe you should make it good because she's an SR character. You need to give SR characters as much as you can to make them seem like an appealing option, because in this game we have very few SSR characters that are actually like good. And what I mean by good is you you will spend materials to work on this character, you will use them down the road, and as new characters come out, you will not slowly start to regret boosting this character. Gojo is a character like that. I feel like Nobara is kind of a character like that. I feel like even Black Flash Yuji could be a character like that. But I feel like other characters, you're going to start to see other variants, not other variants of them, but like just other options come out, and they're going to quickly fall into obscurity. So Momo feels like one of those characters that you might regret working on later on, but if you need the buffer right now, then maybe go for it. Next character that we're looking at is actually Ultimate Mechamaru here, Model Mode Albatross. Right? So at first, I literally was not going to put this man onto anything. I wasn't gonna put him on any list or anything like that. But I remember I didn't have another DPS besides Gojo, so for a little bit I had just been using Mechamaru, and I was like, oh, okay, he's decent enough. He's doing like some damage here and there. He's helping out whenever I need, you know, to get that little extra bit of damage out, finish up the rotation of enemies, right? But then I started to notice that as I got deeper and deeper into like harder content, one, this Mechamaru is really good at taking hits for some reason. Two, he also can't be status debuffed because he's a doll. He's not an actual person, right? So you see right here, his characteristic is immune to poison, darkness, stun, confusion, instant kill, and reverse technique. Bruh. Immune to instant kill? That's kind of crazy. That's a little crazy. There are no instant kill enemies that we're fighting yet, but even still, immune to instant kill definitely helps. Doesn't Mahito come out in an event where you have to beat the domain expansion Mahito? Doesn't he come out in an event where you have to beat him and you can get him for free? Possibly, maybe. Well, if I have to fight domain expansion Mahito, I'm going to be using this man because he has instant kill. He has an instant kill notification, so that's very good. But let's come down here and look at some of his skills. His skills are whatever, you know, like this one does whatever damage. And the point blank shot also does whatever damage. I haven't really leveled him up too much, so that's why they do whatever damage. The skill that impresses me the most with this man is the Ultra Cannon. I'm not saying that Mechamaru is going to be some crazy team unifying, carry your team on his back type of character. I'm just saying that he does make actually really good sense as a damage option. Now, if you already have Green Yuji or even Nobara, you just have somebody else you can throw in for damage in general. We're not even talking about colors. We're just talking about damage at this point. If you have somebody like that, then maybe Mechamaru isn't somebody that you want to waste your mats on, because if you already have Yuji and you need a damage dealer, you know, you're just going to throw in Mechamaru in the mix. But I will say, one caveat, Mechamaru does have an AoE skill 3 and an AoE ultimate, and both of these skills actually do hit pretty decently hard, considering I have not leveled them up too much. I think maybe his, actually I can check right here. My JJK is off to the side right here. I have it on all my devices so that any moment I need to pull it up or anything like that, I can check it. So as of right now, the only skill that I have leveled up on Mechamaru is Ultra Cannon, and it's just doing 135% range Jujutsu damage to all enemies, which is crazy because it actually does pretty solid damage for me. It actually like fills in the gaps of the damage that Gojo didn't do in the prior turn, right? So if you need another option for damage dealing, then Mechamaru is not a bad choice. This right here. Recover his own and combo allies HP by 10%. Oh, so that's how Mechamaru heals. So in some of my videos, you will see that I try to figure out why Mechamaru doesn't heal from certain skills, but then I eventually realized he doesn't heal because he's a puppet. He's not a person, right? So reverse curse technique is not going to heal him. Rather, reverse curse technique would more so maybe disable the control on the puppet if used in that way. I don't think anybody's ever tried to directly, in the series, reverse curse technique Mechamaru's puppet. Mahito doesn't have to. He just has to touch that man. So like obviously it's different. But recovers own and allies HP by 10%, so that's his heal right there. Deals 100% range Jujutsu damage to all enemies. And then down here, at the start of battle, grants poison and insta-kill resistance to self. So it's just resistance at first, but he has immunity up there, it says. So I don't understand what the resistance is for if he has immunity. And then grants darkness, stun, confusion, and reverse curse technique immunity to self. Okay. So sometimes the auto skills level up, or maybe I'm just thinking of on the recollection bits, but the recollection bit skills can level up. Maybe can characters auto skills level up as you boost them more? Very curious. Because they get a bunch of little random buffs whenever you boost them throughout the grades, and not grades, throughout the when you get them duplicates, right? So maybe if you get duplicates of a character, so maybe for a Mechamaru this turns from, let me look at this. No, he just has all that, always. Cool. All right. Now that I'm realizing I can use my iPad side by side while doing these videos, I can actually start to look in the game for more confirmation and stuff like that as I'm going. But Mechamaru is a very competent damage option if you do not have other damaging options, because yes, Gojo is there, but Gojo does leave after 7 turns, so you do need other options for damage, and that's why he's a second character I went over, because he's like a, if you don't have the other damaging characters you need, go for it. Absolutely, I recommend. If you do have the damaging units that you need, then maybe sit them in the back seat. Now, later on down the road, if you're looking for a mono green team, because you know, Green Gojo is going to come out later, right? A crazy mono green team, and I'm thinking far ahead in the future, but like, say Green Gojo, Yuji, Mechamaru, and Mahito. I feel like that team is absolutely scrubbing whatever it looks at with Mechamaru's with Mechamaru's damage, with Gojo's damage, with Yuji's damage, with Mahito's instant kill. There's a no buffer team right there for you. Just some random thoughts. But let's move on to the next character. We're starting to get into the characters now that are like a, yo, low-key, work on this character. Like, I know you might not want to, but do this, please. Next character up is Shoko. Shoko is a healer. Shoko is a wonderful healer at that. The only problem with Shoko is that she is a SR, so obviously her stats are going to be a little bit lower, so she can get targeted by enemies sometimes and get killed, get swiped away like pretty easily. To give you guys perspective, my Shoko, now granted she's only level 53, but my Shoko's level 53. She is only grade 5, and she also has 3 awakenings, so she has 3 duplicates. Her HP is only 5,326. That is a very, very low HP value, but she makes up for it in the fact that she can consistently heal with her skill 2, especially if you're running her with somebody who's going to be boosting her cursed energy and everything. Deals low damage when used on a cursed spirit. So if you have a cursed spirit on your team and you use this, it deals some damage to them instead of healing. Okay. Same for this right here. But also, her skill 2 or her skill 3 recovers HPs of the selected ally by 80% of her jutsu, and then recovers all allies' HP by 150% of her jutsu. And this heal is actually pretty good. Like, this is a full heal typically for me, even on my SSR characters and stuff. Combo ultimate effect: recovers own and allies' HP, cursed energy by 10, then deals 100% melee taijutsu damage to the combo ally's selected enemy. Targets all enemies if combo ally does not have a selected enemy. Unfortunately, she does not have any auto skills, but I think her heals are enough just to get her there. Right now I have her skill 2 level 3, or her skill 3, I'm sorry. Her skill 3 is level 3, which means that it gives me a 92.8% heal of my jujutsu. I need to get it up here so that it's doing more than what her jujutsu is, so I can get big heals. That's what I'm really shooting for. Shoko is going to continually be a character that I work on even after Yuta comes out, right? Because Yuta isn't a healer per se, but Yuta has healing capabilities built into his kit, which kind of makes Shoko fall a little into obscurity, because I am of the mindset that if you have a healer on your team, you are losing 1 slot of damage. So Yuta is great because he is a healer technically, and also has potential to give you big damage. And he's a high tier character in my opinion. So yeah, not even in my opinion, he's just a high tier character. Look all over YouTube, bro. But Yuta is going to be doing crazy damage plus having a heal in. So Shoko will fall off eventually, but for mono blue teams, I'll still be putting her on the team. If I get her ultimate to level 10, it's basically 300% of her jujutsu healed to all enemy allies. And what is her jujutsu for me right now? Her jujutsu for me right now is, her curse technique right now is 2,349. So 2,349 times 4, because that's 300%, right? Whatever that number is, that's how much she would be healing on that. But I have a lot of work to do for her, but I recommend her so strongly because I do have a lot of work to do on her, and she still performs very well. I've done missions where I probably would have died like 4 or 5 turns earlier if it wasn't for Shoko, and everybody's alive somehow. So maybe not the case of Gojo because he leaves anyway during the 7 turns, but any other type of mission where you need all your units to be alive at the end to get 3 stars, if you don't have Gojo, which, what are you doing? If you don't have Gojo, Shoko should be the one there that's giving you the hand. And also, just a little minor detail, her skill 2 can lower enemies' critical hit resistance, which isn't that crazy, but it does help a little bit, right? Any debuff, any damage boosting for your team, right? Anything like that helps. Let's go to the next character. Next character is going to be this boy Nanami. He is looking clean. We got his characteristic is when Black Flash is performed, increases his own Black Flash rate, which I'm not that worried about, but Black Flash does give you extra benefits, so I do see the merit in this because he can perform Black Flashes. If you notice, like, their characters can either perform Black Flash or they can't, right? So since he can perform a Black Flash and he can increase his own Black Flash rate, he can deal some extra little damage here and there. Maybe he's doing like little tiny bit of damage that you needed left over. The skill 1 doesn't really matter too much. It's a melee, it's a taijutsu and jujutsu combined, 65.2% at level 10 to an enemy. What really matters on him is his skill 2. He increases his own damage by 45.8% and then increases all allies' damage by 34.4%. So Momo had a higher buff, but I think hers was for 3 turns versus his 4 turns. Let me look. But this Nanami, since he has the Black Flash, since he has this, and it's like buffing just him versus buffing your team would be an asinine, a stupid idea. But since you're buffing him and your team at the same time, it's actually really nice because not only is he boosting his Black Flash rate, he's also boosting his own damage along with your allies' damage. This right here deals melee combined damage 250% Jujutsu and Taijutsu to a selected enemy, and then increases all allies' damage by 14.3%, so 27.8% when you get it to max level. So on his ultimate and on his skill 2, he's boosting everybody's damage. On his skill 2, he's boosting his own damage as well in the mix, and I feel like you can get some decent damage off of him, because when I was playing the JP version, I didn't realize that he was like a buffer like that, or I thought that this buff was just for him, so I would just buff him, or I would buff and then just attack with him, and his damage is okay. I'm not saying use this man as a DPS, but like, there are going to be characters who do majority of the enemy's health bar, and then there are going to be characters who do the rest of the enemy's health bar. How do I, like, bro, think about the fact that Fushiguro, Maki, and who else? I think that was it. Those two were fighting Hanami when they pulled up on the Sister Exchange event. Alright, cool. That's an example of characters who are gonna do the little bit of health, right? Then eventually they get tagged out for Todo and Yuji. Alright, cool. They put in a lot more work. They put in more damage. Cool. But at the end of the day, what made Hanami leave is Gojo shooting off that hollow purple. So, clear example. Maki, Yuji, Todo, and Fushiguro. All characters that are going to be adding those little bits of chips of damage and everything. Then Gojo's going to be your type of character that pulls up and sends that final shot, right? That's how the game typically plays for me. I'm putting in a little bit of work here and there, and then Gojo's the final shot. So, and honestly, I don't want to spoil any manga stuff, but that's even how like a very big manga fight goes. I'll say that. I'll just say that and leave it at that. But Nanami is a very good choice for the buffing. And then the last one, honestly, bro, even if you haven't been playing the game too long, if you've been watching videos, you probably know who the last character is. So we got our last character here, and guys, this is completely unrelated to the character themselves, but I just want to say his title is Ariadne's Thread Educator, Masamichi Yaga. Ariadne is a Greek princess, or Greek goddess, Greek mythology, Cretan princess, whatever. I just thought that was really interesting because I'm super into Greek mythology and I'm making a gacha game based on Greek mythology. Be on the lookout for videos about that because the Dead Man will be updating you. But the final character that we want to look at is going to be Principal Yaga Masamichi, or Masamichi Yaga, I'm sorry. He is an absolute menace. This skill right here literally is nothing. This is dog shit, dookie poo poo, right? But this right here, this man gives a Jujutsu and Taijutsu buff. That's why he's cracked. Because no matter who is on your team, they are getting that buff. It really sucks when you have like somebody whose skills based on, or whose skills scale off of cursed energy, but they're only getting a Taijutsu buff, or their skills based off of Taijutsu and they only get a cursed energy buff. Nah, Masamichi, across the board, everybody is going to eat. That is what he said. Tutoring. I'm gonna teach y'all young bloods about how to do this. Masamichi is goated for any sort of content. He will be giving you crazy buffs all these times. And also, guys, right here, it says 4 turns. But you notice it doesn't say he gives you a buff for 4 turns for 1 turn. Yes, that means that his buff can be stacked. And I've literally gone into missions, buffed turn after turn after turn, and checked Gojo after each turn. And yes, this buff stacks not infinitely, but up to 4 times. So, with that being said, you can get more than a 120%, 130%. You can get more than 130% in damage, like buffed. Either way, like that's ridiculous in my opinion. That's in a level 10 skill, of course. I think my Masamichi, or not, I think I can look at him right here. My Masamichi's skill 2 is actually at level 6. So as of right now, I'm in a range where I'm getting 37.8% damage boost to taijutsu and jujutsu. And guys, even if you think that that buff is not crazy, go into a mission, use your Gojo with no buffers or just one buffer, whatever, right? And honestly, go in with one buffer, just to give you comparison of how much better Masamichi is than other buffers. Then go in either with Masamichi versus that other buffer you're using, or go in with Masamichi and that buffer. Either way, your damage will jump tenfold. It's insane the difference that this man Masamichi makes on your team, bruh. Then skill 3 is okay, actually. I like the fact that this skill is so powerful and this skill is useless. But at the same time, these two skills are very useful as well, because this skill right here deals 80% range jujutsu damage to an enemy, deals combined damage equal to 100% taijutsu and 20% jujutsu to selected enemy, and then increases the selected enemy's damage received by 27.8% for 2 turns. If you can get that skill up to level 10, or when you get the skill up to level 10, because we ain't quitters around here and we believe in working on our characters, good characters at least, 47.6% damage received, extra damage received by the enemy. That's nearly 50% extra damage received. So Masamichi, I don't even use this skill a lot. I'm too busy constantly doing this buff. But when I do use this skill, I notice the difference. Masamichi is a character that you notice the difference. That is the point that I'm making. This is why you have to work on him. I see content creators with all the damn SSRs in the game, and without Masamichi, they're saying, damn, did I fuck my account? Am I screwed? Because they don't have this man right here, and he's an SR. Okay, cool. What does his ultimate do? Deals 406 range jujutsu damage. Decreases the selected enemy's taijutsu by 25.4. Decreases the selected enemy's jujutsu by 25.4. Increases the selected enemy's damage received by 25.4. Do you see how ridiculous he is? Do you see how crazy it is that he's increasing jujutsu and taijutsu damage for 4 turns, then getting his ultimate and lowering the enemy's taijutsu and jujutsu damage so they can't really reciprocate the damage that you are giving to them. They have no response to what you're doing, and he's also increasing the damage they receive. Now, if this goes over 50% when I press level 10, Masamichi, you need to re-roll for him. Fuck Gojo. No, I'm kidding. That's ridiculous. You need Gojo and Masamichi. But literally, if you don't have Masamichi, you need to start thinking about what you were going to do to get this man, because like he is a menace. Almost 50%. Almost 50%. That's close enough though. If you don't have Masamichi, what are you doing? Increases own and allies break by 10% and deals 100% melee damage, taijutsu, to the enemies. Now, at the start of this video, I believe Momo gave 10% break damage on this skill right here, or on her combo ultimate effect. But the difference in between Masamichi and Momo is this man's not majority of the time missing stuns for you. Because I've used that Momo before. She does miss stuns quite a bit. Like I do want to say that, right? This man is giving you break damage on top of increasing the damage that the enemy's taking, on top of increasing your taijutsu and jujutsu damage. So take that for what you will, and he can also increase the damage they take right here. So like Masamichi is a must get, must work on, must cop, must turn into an absolute drip god. But that is it for all the SR characters that you need to work on. Masamichi is the cream of the crop, the top of the stack. If you guys enjoyed the video, go down below and like the video. If you guys hated the video, then honestly, bruh, catch this red.